Hello everybody and welcome back to the Volley, the show that gives you your bite-sized analysis of the week's Premier League football. I am Mags and with Matt still on holiday. I'm still tinkering with the format, so you'll be getting this in audio version and a YouTube upload. But yeah, I'm looking at the matches from this past weekend, starting with New Year's Day. City versus Arsenal. How many times before it gets boring do we talk about City pulling wins without having the performance that deserves that victory? But this could be so mired in controversy. It's unreal. We started very, very early with a controversial penalty decision, this time going against Arsenal after Odegaard had made a great run into the box and was for my money was taken out by Ederson. Ederson didn't look like it, to me, from all the angles, didn't look like he made any contact with the ball. But the referee, after a long VAR check, deemed that Ederson had made contact, and Arsenal were awarded the corner. But this Arsenal has been exciting to watch over the last few weeks with these young guns, and they weren't to be outdone. Were clearly the better side for long periods of this game. And that dominance paid off in spades when Tierney had an amazing run down the wing, able to thread the ball to the man on fire, Bayoko Sako, who calmly slotted it through the defenders and past Ederson to give Arsenal the lead. And it could have been over pretty soon after that when another player for Arsenal who's having a wonderful season, really kind of showing their quality, Gabriel Martinelli, he got the ball on the halfway line and just destroyed the Man City defence, really taking Ruben Diaz for a stroll before just slicing his shot wide of the post. But unfortunately, this City team doesn't lay down and die, and they're levelled with another controversial, and I'd say this one is more controversial than the first penalty call, with Bernardo Silva being brought down by Granit Xhaka. Originally, Stuart Atwell, the referee, said no penalty, which I would have agreed with, but he went to VAR, and Bernardo was definitely going down with the intention of looking for a penalty. There was very little in terms of physical contact between the two, but what did sway it was that Granit Xhaka had a hold of Bernardo Silva's shirt, which unfortunately meant that the penalty stood, and Raheem Mahrez scored a well-taken penalty. And then we see that Gabriel Martinez again. This happens with teams who have lost leads or have gone behind due to controversial circumstances like this. Somebody on that team usually gets a little bit emotional, and usually, for Arsenal, you would think it's Granit Xhaka, who actually did get booked, but it was this time it was Gabriel Magalhaes, who was sent off for two very quick yellow cards. The first one was where he tried to tamper with the penalty spot, which is a big no-no, and then the second one for a very pointless kind of body check on Gabriel Jesus. So he quickly made Arsenal's problems go from bad to worse, and then right at the death, we get Man City doing what Man City do, and that's doing enough to get the victory. A floated ball into the box from Kevin De Bruyne, kind of a teaser in extra time, and there was a bit of miscommunication between the Arsenal defenders, which meant the ball dropped to Bernardo Silva, who had an attempt, that ricochet to Rodri, who was able to put it away and essentially win the game at the death. In terms of stats, it was probably deserved if you're looking at it from a purely analytical point of view. City had 71% of the ball, 15 shots to Arsenal's 7 and 29% of the ball. But the difference is that the shots on target, which is level at 2 apiece. I feel that Arsenal probably on the balance of play at least deserved a point. Certainly showing that they were definitely not frightened or not worried about the champions elect. These young guns of Saka, of Odegaard, of Kieran Tierney, Martinelli have all really kind of stood up to be counted, especially with the poor start that Arsenal had for the beginning of this season, with the controversy they've had with Aubameyang. With the issues with Arteta's managerial style being called into question, this Arsenal side have really kind of stood up to be counted, and they are fully deserving of being in that top 5. I mean, this was their first loss in 5. Really were almost matching City game for game as the informed team. But this City team is so hard to break down. I think that makes it 12 victories in a row now for City in the league. And with this being the kind of the early kick-off at the weekend, it basically put all the impetus and all the importance on that Chelsea-Liverpool game later on in the weekend, which we will certainly get to very, very soon. But before we do, let's just quickly let everyone know that there was a game that was called off this weekend, and it was Leicester versus Norwich City postponed, and then also for the Sunday games we had Newcastle away trip to Southampton postponed. But next, let's get into Watford versus Tottenham. And if there's a match this weekend where the scoreline doesn't reflect what happened on the pitch, it's certainly this one. Tottenham managing to scrape past Watford 1-0 with another injury time goal, this time from Davinson Sanchez, who headed away a Heung-min Son free kick into the box. But before that, Tottenham were just rampant against Watford. Watford really only having one significant chance, and that was a beautifully made effort from Josh King, which was tipped wide from Hugo Lloris. But Bachmann in the Watford goal was certainly the more busy keeper, having to make great saves from the likes of Son, from the likes of Harry Kane. He was so busy. Statistically, Watford only had 26% of the ball, 6 shots with 4 on target, compared to Tottenham's 74% of the ball, 21 shots and 9 on target. So Batman really had it all to do, and it looked like he'd been able to pull it off. There was still again some penalty controversy this time. For penalties not given a couple of times in the first half. Watford players were overly aggressive when it comes to handling the Tottenham players in the box. Kane being essentially struggle-cuddled, and then Eric Dyer on a Tottenham free kick. He was actually wrestled to the ground by, I think it was Cucho, maybe wrestled him to the ground, and it was quite clear Cucho went for the suplex takedown. But at the end of the day, the results are what matters, and this is another victory for Conte, which actually makes him the first ever Tottenham manager to avoid defeat in his first 7 league matches. So he's really kind of instilled a strength in Tottenham that they were certainly lacking. But going forward, Tottenham's issue was the crosses and the final touches. The chances that they created weren't weren't really top quality chances, and Son, for all his skill, he's having a mare of a time in front of goal, really kind of struggling. There was a ball that came across, I think it was from Davinson Sanchez, whipped the ball across the box, and in any other season Son would have flicked that and it would have gone in. This time, unfortunately not. His flick went well wide. Kane had a chance to pounce on some defensive errors from the Watford team, and in any other season he would have finished that chance with aplomb. This time he puts it just wide of Batman's goal. So Tottenham sometimes were their own worst enemy in terms of how wasteful they were in front of goal. But the points still are mounting up, and they're still continuing that push for top four. They have a couple of games in hand over Arsenal, who occupy that fourth spot, but they're only 2 points behind. So certainly the impetus is with them for them to push on. But what a change for these North London teams from very, very poor starts of the season to being able to be challenging for these top four positions. So next, let's go to Crystal Palace against West Ham, and what a game this was! Absolutely enthralling stuff. West Ham come away with a victory, 3-2, but that doesn't paint the whole picture. Palace certainly started incredibly brightly. Odsonne Edouard starting this game with the same fine form that he ended the last game, where he was involved in pretty much everything. He had an opportunity to set up Jeffrey Schlupp, who hit the post after ripping the West Ham defence apart. Odsonne Edouard also hit the bar with a first time shot, but West Ham weren't to be outdone, and when they got opportunities, they took them. They almost took the lead beforehand, and if it wasn't for a fabulous three-way save by Guaita in the Palace goal, firstly from Mikel Antonio, and then whilst he was on the ground, stopped Mikel Antonio getting a second touch. The ball goes out to, I think it was Ben Rama, who tries to head the ball calmly past Guaita, who leaps off the ground to perform another great save. Absolutely superb effort by Guaita, and West Ham were being very, very frustrated and pegged back by the keeper. But eventually, the back line failed, and a ball whipped in by Ben Rama was caught by Antonio essentially with the studs of his boot, but that touch was enough to deflect it past Guaita to open the scoring. And then a couple of minutes later, and some sublime skill from Lanzini, able to weave his way into the box and then perform some keepy-uppies before hitting a volley, rattling the bar and going in off the crossbar to double West Ham's lead and essentially break the hearts of Crystal Palace fans. And then that was compounded right at the end of half time, going deep into added time. I think about 5 minutes of added time had happened when Darren England, the referee, awarded a penalty to Palace after Milivojevic handled the ball, or seemed to handle the ball, while trying to shepherd it out of the box. On first glance, it looked like he maybe has caught his forearm on the outside of the box, but after the ref had watched the replay in slow motion, it was quite clear it was inside the box, and he awarded the penalty, which was calmly and confidently taken by Lanzini. Palace, after such a great performance last week, had it all to do in this match against West Ham, but they didn't lie down to take it. And with about 7 minutes to go, Odsonne Edouard, his hard work all game, got some payoff when he was able to poke home a crossbar Michael Elise to really give West Ham something to think about. Then we get to the death of the game and into the last minutes, and Elise has a free kick on the edge of the West Ham box, floats it in for a Palace player to get his head on. Absolutely everybody misses it, including the goalkeeper, and it settles into the bottom corner for the score to be 3-2. And the comeback was on. And then at the death, literally with one of the last kicks of the game, Mateta goes for an overhead kick, which just squeaks wide, and it just wasn't to be for Palace for this comeback. So yeah, West Ham come away with the points, despite being outpossessed by Palace, 63% to 37%, outstruck by Palace with 22 shots to West Ham's 10, with 6 on target to West Ham's 5. But it just wasn't to be for Palace, and they stay in mid-table, whereas West Ham keep up that pressure on the likes of Arsenal and the likes of Tottenham for pushing for those Champions League spots. So on to the Sunday games now, and we started with Brentford versus Aston Villa. Brentford obviously not been in the best of forms recently. Couple of losses on the bounce, and Aston Villa pretty much the same, trading wins and losses over the last few games. This was both teams fully cemented in the middle of the pack, and yeah, this wasn't the most entertaining game, but it was certainly a surprising victory. I mean, in terms of statistics, before we get into the actual result, Villa dominated with 55% of the ball, had 16 shots, and 5 of those on target, whereas Brentford had 10 shots with only 4 of those on target, for good periods of this game, Villa looked like they were the team that was going to go on to victory, but unfortunately they were overturned, and Brentford took the result 2-1. Villa actually opened the scoring with Danny Ings returning to form after a great rangy run set up by a beautiful ball by Emi Buendia. But the star of the game for Brentford was Roslev. He played a beautiful ball into Johan Visser, who took it really well. The ball kind of was coming behind him. He was able to flick it in front of him, and then for the second touch, able to curl the shot well past Emi Martinez in the Villa goal. And then in the second half, it looked like it was maybe kind of edging out to be a draw. Both teams having relatively weak chances, although Villa did have the majority of the ball. Ings had a great chance to score, again set up by Emi Buendia, but it was not to be, and then with around 7 minutes to go, the ball was pinging around the Aston Villa box, drops to Roslev, who I said has had a really good game. He was able to get a shot off. Martinez was able to match that first shot, but unfortunately the rebound came back to him, and he was able to poke it home and slot the ball past Martinez for a 2-1 win. But that wasn't the end of it. Villa really desperately tried to get that equaliser. Fernandes had to produce a really good stop to keep Danny Ings out after some good work by John McGinn. But yeah, Brentford back on the winning trail. Aston Villa with the first 2 losses in a row underneath Steven Gerrard. And a lot of work there for him to do at Villa Park to turn this season around. So it's time to take a trip to Goodison Park. Everton, who have been slowly dragged into this relegation mire, took on a Brighton team looking to add to their decent results in the past couple of games, and yeah, it all was went so well for Brighton. The opening goal after a couple of minutes, after some great work from Jacob Veltman to find Maupay in the box, who was able to flick the ball to Alexis McAllister. For him to put the ball away, and yeah, it started another poor day for this Everton side. Their woes were doubled after only 20 minutes when a corner was floated over to the back post where Neil Maupay and Dan Burn were both unmarked. The ball comes to Dan Burn and he gently cushions the header to double the scoreline and really put Everton under the cosh. The returning Calvert-Lewin a couple of minutes later had the opportunity to split that lead in half when Enoch and Wepu's foul on Anthony Gordon. He essentially shoulder barged Gordon off the ball at the edge of the box. Normally this would have not resulted in a penalty, but on a weekend where penalty controversies were rampant, it was clear that this was going to be a penalty. And Calvert-Lewin on his first game back had the opportunity to really kind of cement himself and really turn Everton's season around. But he fired the ball well over Sanchez's goal, and yeah, it just seemed that it was not going to be a good day for Everton. That was further compounded when Alan had a great shot on Brighton's goal, but again, Robert Sanchez was able to match it and make an outstanding save. But we did eventually get a goal when the latest star from the Everton youth academy, Anthony Gordon, got a deflected shot. It looked like it took a couple of deflections on the way in. The last one I think off Lallana, but yeah, it was his first ever goal in an Everton shirt, and he really kind of inspired Everton to maybe create more, and the victory, or at least getting a draw, was still on. But about 15 minutes later, those thoughts were certainly put to bed when McAllister fired in a worldie from the edge of the box, curling all the way past Pickford with absolutely nothing he can do, no chance he could have got to that. Which meant that the game was pretty much done and dusted. Anthony Gordon, again, someone who was really not letting this game down, and he was able to bundle the second Everton goal over to make it a bit of a tense finish with about 15 minutes to go. But it wasn't to be for Everton, and Rafa Benitez and Ray Cash's hopes of Everton having anything to play for this season were incredibly dashed. And it's not like that they could even blame fixture congestion, because the last time that they'd actually played was about 17 games ago, so the players were fresh. They had their talisman back in Calvert-Lewin. It's just that they weren't a match for this Brighton side, who have been playing some absolutely glorious football. And in terms of stats, Everton should have had this sewn up. I mean, they shared the ball equally with 50% each, but Everton had 17 shots compared to Brighton's 12, and 6 of those on target compared to Brighton's 5. So statistically, they should have done way better with this. But when you are in such a rut, the way that Everton are, I mean, they haven't won in the last 3, only 1 victory in the last 5. It's worrying times there at Goodison Park. So now let's talk Leeds versus Burnley. Leeds able to stop their run of losses, 3 losses on the bounce with a 3-1 victory over the Clarets. A very well-deserved victory. No two ways about it. After a pretty back-and-forth opening where Chris Wood had a really good chance, and Roberts had a chance that could have any other time been a goal. Leeds took the impetus when James Tarkowski, who's normally been pretty solid for Burnley over his time at the Clarets, he made an error where his pass was intercepted by Harrison. Harrison then races past him, gets the shot off, which was initially saved by Hennessy, who despite the goal, the scoreline, had a pretty decent game. He saved the first shot, but the rebound comes back to Harrison, and he was able to slot it home to give Leeds the lead going into the second half. Burnley were bright for the first few minutes of that second period, and that brightness kind of paid off when essentially against the run of play, but it was still very well deserved. A glorious free kick by Maxwell Cornet, curled all the way around the wall into the top corner, and it looked like maybe the draw was on. Leeds obviously not having a lot of confidence with those results that have happened in the last few weeks, but then up steps Stuart Dallas, who, after some missed chances from the likes of Rafinha, who was superb in this game as well, really kind of almost unplayable at times. He'd almost scored when he caught Hennessy off his line and chipped a shot to that just clipped the bar, and then he also found a lot of space on the back post, but wasn't able to put the ball across the line, shooting just wide. Well, Stuart Dallas popped up edge of the box, perfectly placed left footer that had Hennessy beat all ends up. And then to kind of compound the victory, Dan James was able to get a header, which was initially saved by Hennessy, but it ended up just bundling itself over the line to really kind of put Burnley in the doldrums. And it was no more than Leeds deserved, to be fair. On the balance of play, they had 55% of the ball, 22 shots, 7 of those on target, 9 corners, to Burnley having just 45% of the ball, 8 shots and 2 of those on target. Meslier again had a really good game in the Leeds goal, and Leeds fully deserve this victory and really kind of puts them maybe out of touch of the rest of the teams down there in the relegation zone, and really kind of makes it a 3-way fight for that one spot to pull their way out. I mean, Burnley do still have games in hand over Watford and over Newcastle, so their fate is certainly in their own hands. But if results are going to go like this, I can't really see a way that Burnley don't end up getting relegated this season, unfortunately. But on to the final game of the weekend, and after City opened this weekend's football with the victory, it meant that this game had all the more importance. as we saw the numbers 2 and 3 collide with Chelsea taking on Liverpool, and the result just had to be what happened. Really kind of strengthened Man City's stranglehold on this Premier League title when the game ended in a 2-2 stalemate after early work from Liverpool to really kind of push for the victory, especially after a bit of a scare when Trent Alexander-Arnold defensive frailties came into question again, and he was able to be dispossessed by Havertz, who fed the ball to Pulisic, who was one-on-one with the keeper, and a little bit of hesitation gave Kelleher the opening. Kelleher, one of the few Liverpool players drafted in to cover for COVID-19 affected players, the likes of Alisson. I think Matip was also out due to it. And then on the Chelsea side, we obviously had the loss of Lukaku after his controversial interview this week, where he essentially slammed the tactical styles of Thomas Tuchel, as well as saying he would happily go back to Inter. Tuchel obviously decided his head wasn't in this game, and despite him being on form and being the £100 million player, took the decision to drop him. Whether that would be the right decision or not, time would tell. But it could have all gone so wrong for Liverpool very early in the game when Mane elbows Azpilicueta in the face when going for a header on the far touchline. Actually, it's his forearm that makes contact with Azpilicueta, but the fact is that it was an unnatural position. I'm not saying that Mane had intentions of hurting Azpilicueta, but in this day of VAR, you have to be hyper aware of your body position, and he was very, very lucky to get away with a booking. A lot of controversy there with Tuchel and the Chelsea players all screaming at the referee and the third official to look on VAR for that to be a sending off. Personally, I think it would have been a sending off, and it actually turned out to be pivotal, because it was only a few moments later where that very same player, Sadio Mane, opened the scoring. A great finish, pouncing on another defensive mistake, this time by Trevor Chalobah for Chelsea, to slot the ball past Edouard Mendy to give Liverpool the opening. And then not long after that, Mohamed Salah doubled that lead with showing his absolute genius with a football, sending Marcos Alonso for a broken ankle with the feint, and then his finish perfectly placed at the near post to really compound Chelsea here at Stamford Bridge, and looked like they would cruise to victory. On the getting towards the end of half time, Chelsea put a little bit of doubt onto that when Kovacic, the ball drops to him after some really decent Chelsea play. He's on the edge of the D outside the Liverpool box, and he essentially American football punts the ball high into the top corner. Absolutely no way that Kelleher was getting for that. And it was a lot for Liverpool to think about. and just as you thought the game was done and dusted in this first half, and we'd be coming out with fresh mentalities, Pulisic was able to race clear with the ball, and this time having no doubts and no hesitation, slots the ball past Kelleher to go in to the second half as a deadlock, 2 apiece. In the second half, unfortunately, there were no more goals. The game kind of died, maybe a little bit of a death, but with probably Salah coming the closest to breaking that deadlock with a rangy shot from about 25 yards, which Edouard Mendy was able to push wide while slamming himself into the pole. But yeah, this was arguably the worst result for anybody who isn't a Man City fan. It means that Man City are now essentially 10 points clear of Chelsea, 11 points clear of Liverpool. Liverpool still do have that game in hand, but their form has absolutely dropped off. As I said earlier, City 12 games with winning on the bounce, whereas Chelsea have only got 1 win in their last 5, the other 4 being draws, and Liverpool haven't won in their last 3 games, 2 draws and a loss. So the wheels really falling off in this title race. It's certainly becoming a City league win at a canter. It's going to take a monumental collapse by this Man City team, which you just don't see coming, for Chelsea or Liverpool to be able to pull this league back. Let's have a quick look at the stats before we wrap this up. In terms of possession, Chelsea had the majority of the ball, 55%, and then the majority of the shots with 15 compared to Liverpool's 10. But were equal on shots on target with 6 apiece. So yeah, this was a pretty balanced affair. A draw probably is fair in the grand scheme of things, but a draw does neither of them any good in terms of title aspirations. But yeah, that's pretty much about it for this week's episode of the Volley. Again, hope you've enjoyed this kind of change in approach. We will be going back to live pretty soon when Matt comes back off his jollies in that there America. But definitely go and follow him on his socials at the Matt Attack UK. You can certainly follow me at PodfatherMags and follow the network at Radio Tekkers. Give us a like, give us a subscribe, give us a thumbs up, all that good stuff. Thank you all for watching along, and I will see you in the next one.